Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com. For premium picks, DwyerVIP.com. For legal reasons, let me state that this video is being offered for entertainment purposes only. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Let me just say, for Dwyer VIP customers, congratulations on the under that was successful in last week's Redskin-Cowboy game. As I said, picking a side, dangerous, but the over-under was the play. If you got it early in the week, you got an over-under of 49. So you're able to go under the 49. Later in the week, it dropped to 48. But just understand, for a playoff atmosphere game played in the Northeast, after hours, right? After the second round of games, the game went off, Sunday night, in a game involving a rookie quarterback. The 48-49 points were simply too many points, right? Especially given that both of these teams are NFC Eastern teams who were familiar with each other, right? Well, this week, let's focus on the wild card games. This is a free pick, right? Now, I normally don't make money line picks simply because the risk reward just isn't there. I prefer to, if I'm going to risk my money, bet on point spreads or over-unders at minus 115 or less, right? The idea is that if you win, you get back at least 90% profit. But I'm going to pick an over-under here because I do believe that one game just leaps out. The value is obvious, and I don't like the point spread, right? And that over-under, not over-under, but that money line pick is in the Indianapolis Colts Baltimore Raven game. I like the Ravens here on a money line play. They're the favorites. You're getting a minus 280, right? The idea is that you bet $28 to win 10, right? Now let me just say, I consider the Indianapolis Colts, who beat the number 1 seed last week, the Houston Texans, who then dropped all the way to the 3 seed. I consider the Indianapolis Colts to be overrated. I think they are a paper tiger with structural defects. First, before I get into the numbers, let me just say, I personally don't believe that there is any way, shape, or form that the Colts will be able to maintain the intensity that they had during the Houston Texan game, which featured the emotional return of their coach from a medical leave, right? Obviously, the community was emotionally invested in that game. The players were emotionally invested in that game on a level that I just don't believe they can continue emotionally, right? So just off an emotional level, I'm expecting the team to suffer a letdown. More importantly, though, structurally, the team is flawed. Would it surprise you to learn, especially given that they're about to face Ray Rice, that the Indianapolis Colts defense, on average, gives up 5.1 yards per carry defensively? In other words, every defensive back against them looks like Adrian Peterson, right? By contrast, the Baltimore Ravens only allow 4 yards a carry by an opposing running back. I don't think the Colts will be able to stop the Raven rushing game. It gets worse. When the Colts are on the road, would it surprise you to know that they give up 5.3 yards per rushing attempt. 5.3. Also, in terms of yards per passing attempt, did you know that they give up 7.5 on the road? These numbers are way too high. I understand that at first glance, the Colts look like an effective team, right? Any team with 11 wins usually does. But you need to look at their porous defense. It's really bad. Let me also point out, too, that some of their wins, quite frankly, they got outplayed in. I don't want to get too wonkish here, but let me just say that against the Houston Texans, the game they just won, understand that per play, they were outgained by 1.9 yards, right? That's a problem, right? They won the game, but they really did not statistically dominate Houston. Also, think about this. The game before that, would it surprise you to know that the Kansas City Chiefs, perhaps the worst team in the league? Keep in mind, Romeo Crennel has already been fired, right? The Kansas City Chiefs actually outgained the Colts by more than 200 yards when they played. Now contrast that with a Baltimore Raven team that quite frankly seems to be peaking. Let's ignore last week's game against the Cincinnati Bengals and understand the Ravens in that game rested their star players and yet still outgained the Bengals by more than 150 yards. Right? Let's ignore that game. Let's go to the week before when they faced a New York Giant team that needed to win to keep their playoff hopes alive. As I make this video, the Giants, despite winning their last game of the season, the game they played after the Raven game, despite winning that game against a divisional opponent, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Giants missed the playoffs because they lost the Raven game the week before. And understand, in that must-win game for the Giants, the Ravens, and by the way, this is the last home game the Ravens played, right? Understand that their game against Indianapolis is going to be at home, right? In that Giant game, the Ravens outgained the Giants per play by 2.2 yards, right? In the game, they outgained the Giants by more than 300 yards. Factor in, too, the fact that guys who have been out for the Ravens, who are emotional leaders, more emotional leading, quite frankly, than leadership on the field at this stage. But Ray Lewis apparently has been practicing with the team. You've got to be kidding yourself if you believe that Ray Lewis, with any chance of getting on the field, is going to miss a playoff game at home. Just isn't going to happen. And you also need to realize that on this season, where they played a lot of it without Ray Lewis, understand that at home, the Baltimore Ravens only gave up not 4 yards a carry to opposing running backs, which is what they did on the season. But at home, they only gave up 3.8 yards a carry. So Indianapolis is not going to be able to run the football. You're going to be relying on a rookie quarterback throwing into a Ravens secondary that has guys like Ed Reed against a Raven team that quite frankly has been playing inspired football at home. Indianapolis, good luck with that. I like the Ravens The minus 280, as I said, I hate money line plays where I'm taking favorites. But this looks like easy money to me. Why am I not playing games with the point spread? Because the Ravens see the big picture, right? The Ravens rested their starters last week. If the Ravens are up big, let's say the Ravens are up by 2 touchdowns, right? Or let's say the Ravens are up by 13 points, a little bit less than 2 touchdowns, 1 touchdown and 2 field goals. If they have the game in the bag, I could see this veteran team looking ahead, playing a very vanilla defense at the end, right? Putting a premium on keeping guys healthy more than covering a spread. Their priority is to win the game and move on in the playoffs. I could see them allowing meaningless Colt touchdowns at the end of the game that don't impact the game's outcome, except for gamblers. I don't want to take the risk with the 6.5. So my free pick here is to take the Ravens on the money line at minus 280 or better, depending on how the line moves between today, the 2nd of January, and game day this weekend. Let me know what you think. Leave your comments for me here online at YouTube. For more premium picks, visit us at DwyerVIP.com. Thanks for stopping by.